What is up, everybody? I just did this video, but I accidentally ended it, so I'm going to redo it. But today we're going to be talking about a really interesting concept. Here are the two things getting in the way of you as a creative. And I'm just going to point blank experience and explain the creative paradox that I feel like a lot of us go through. Now, here are just a couple rules before I go into the creative paradox, which are boredom is one term I'm going to add into this. Before we explain what it means, boredom is just, hey, this is boring. Life is boring. These things are not interesting. They're not stimulating to me. And then the second term is stress, which is like, I'm sure y'all know what it is, where things are hard. Oh my God, I'm stressing out about how scared and fearful I am. Boredom and stress together are two emotions that are very commonly felt amongst our population. You know, they're very important. But there's one solution we have as what we should do subconsciously whenever we feel bored or stressed, or both, most importantly, which is stimulation. This means eating more, being on social media more. If you really pay attention to most of the times you do these actions, it's because you either feel boredom or stress or both. But here is the trick thing. Stimulation and overstimulation is really bad for us. We should be probably, if we're trying to attain the highest level, stimulate as little as possible. But what stimulation does is it leads to more boredom. Because when you're on TikTok every single day, everything else is more boring because you're comparing it to that. If you're eating really tasty candy every day, the vegetables on your plate don't seem as tasty because your tolerance goes up. Therefore, stimulation leads to boredom. Now, also, stimulation leads to more stress because everything stimulating is meant to be overwhelming in a way. So this can lead to more stress. Specifically, let me just go from the example of social media. You're dealing with constant amount of positive and negative opinions, so it overwhelms your brain subconsciously. But guess what happens when you lead to boredom and stress? You go back to stimulating even more. So it's a trap. You start with boredom and stress, you go down to stimulation, and then you keep going down to boredom and stress. And what this does is it lowers your creative battery because now you're not finding anything interesting to work with. You're not finding any opportunity in what you're doing because your tolerance is increasing and your boredom is increasing. And that too, you're stressed, which stress limits creativity. Now, I think those concepts are easy to explain, but let me explain what happens when we flip this around. Let's just say the pivotal change is when you are bored and you are stressed, and instead of stimulating, you embrace and feel those emotions, and you try to destimulate. If we destimulate instead of stimulating, we will feel less bored and we will feel less stressed, right? It's gonna lower both of these. And what that does is you find more things passionate, which leads to, I think, more success with what you're doing, because the whole point of creativity is to find opportunity in things that people don't deem as having opportunity, which it's the same thing as like finding a vegetable that's really like bland, tasty. You're finding taste in something that people don't normally find taste in. So when your tolerance goes down and your ability to tolerate boredom goes up, your ability to see value in everything from a creative perspective will increase. So destimulating definitely will help you as a creative. But also, you're not going to be overwhelmed with so many opinions and so many things that are not relevant to your life, which is going to de-stress you way more. Because it's going to be way more boring, but you're going to be de-stressed. What this destimulation leads to is a higher creative battery. You're more passionate. You don't limit yourself, because every time we're stressed out, we're limiting ourselves in a certain way. Stress is an important limiter. So the more stress we feel, the more pigeonholed we pigeonhole our creative process even more. So I've showed you that, stimulation it lowers your creative drive slash battery, and destimulation increases your creative drive slash battery. But the paradox here is, as creators, we are forced to be on social media to share what we do. We're forced to be on social media to share the things we have, but being on social media prevents us from being as creative, which prevents us from succeeding. So how do we balance kind of both things? Well, I think mainly it's about limiting what you're doing with social media, but how do we make the decision to destimulate or limit what we're doing with social media? And what I would say there is, okay, we have stress. Let's just say we're having a bad day. We have stress and we have boredom, right? These are two emotions we're feeling right now. We had a long day. We want to just be on social media and doom scroll to get past the amount of crap we've gone through today. For example, I woke up, I got a call today, and I woke up way earlier than I wanted to. Didn't get much sleep, and I'm one of those people where if I don't get 8 hours, I beat myself up for a lot. So I woke up already with a ton of stress of, damn, I'm going to die early because I didn't get 8 hours of sleep. So I woke up with that. Now I'm addressing it. I have stress, and also I have boredom because, I don't know what else to do interesting today. I don't have an interesting plan today. So I make the decision to check TikTok or check Instagram. And I try to make it productive, but at the end of the day, I'm choosing stimulation. How do you make sure these two actions don't get you to stimulate? A non-interesting day. How do you make sure these actions don't get you to stimulate? Well, what you have to do is, I think, feel them and find out reasons to solve these issues before they turn into stimulation. Make sure to cure the zombie bite before the person turns into a zombie. Do you see what I'm saying? So if I woke up with a lot of stress today of, damn, I didn't sleep well, I'm going to die early, then maybe I should be like, okay, I feel that, Rohan. Let me try to sleep 2 hours earlier today to make up for what I lost. Okay, plan. Great. That stress has turned into a solution, right? And now the boredom, do and plan something exciting for the day that genuinely is exciting, not just TikTok. So when you have an interesting plan for the day that, doesn't lie to yourself, but is genuinely interesting. Like, hey, I'm going to go to the court and play basketball today. I'm going to do arms today. I'm going to go to a Starbucks shop and drink coffee and work without social media, without a highly stimulating thing. I'm going to create an environment that is genuinely exciting to myself. So the secret in the solution to stress and boredom, stress is addressing as fast as possible and solving it. Like right now, I already have stress constantly in my mind of, oh, I wasted today. It is only 1:30 p.m., but I feel like I wasted today. That is a thing in my mind lingering, an amount of stress lingering. I wasted today, and you know what? I don't want to do maintenance. I don't want to do boring stuff today. These are two things that I feel. I don't want to do boring stuff, and I wasted today. So this stuff needs to be addressed and recognized as soon as possible before it can turn into an action. If I wasted today, I can be like, oh, how about this? If I lock in for, 6 hours today, 6-7 hours, 6-7 hours, I can play a video game. There we go. I only have to work 6 hours or 8 hours a day, whatever the amount is. If I lock in from this amount of time, the day will been defined as productive. I've taken my problem and I found a solution for it. Now, this is important. You need to communicate with your stress like it's a human being. And the stress is like, okay, deal. All I have to do is lock in for 8 hours today, and I win. Great. I'm going to do that. Now, wasting today is not a stressor anymore because that has been solved. 2, I don't want to do boring stuff, but that's not really a stress. That might just be a feeling. If I'm like, oh, I'm Rohan, I don't want to do boring stuff today. I want to scroll TikTok. What am I really stressed out about here? Well, I'm stressed that I'm going to have a boring day. And what that means is I'm going to miss out on an exciting day. That's what the stress is. I'm missing out on an exciting day. Now, if that stress was a human being with an opinion, how would you communicate to that human being? Don't worry, you're not going to miss out on an exciting day. Now, that's just a debate. Do you think there's a way to find and create an exciting day? What would create an exciting day? Maybe I love the video game Fall Guys. So at the end of today, if I complete all my work, I can play Fall Guys. There we go. We've made the day exciting. Second stressor, gone. But the problem with this, it's super easy to a large degree. You're just debating with somebody and making compromises, which that is not the hard part of this whole situation. The hard part of this whole situation is every single day, every single hour, there will be a million microaggressions that you have that will pop a million of these questions. It's like your mind is a computer and you're opening up a million tabs every single second. There's tabs opening and you have to sit here and close the tabs. I just closed tabs. That's what I did. I took a tab with a query and I closed it. I took 2 tabs, but every minute you're creating an extra tab. That's the problem. And I'm not saying this is an easy problem to fix, but I'm just saying this is how it works. Stress and boredom create tabs in your mind. And the goal to minimize and be the best, I think, creative you can and most productive person you can is closing as many tabs in your life as possible. Closing as many options as possible except the ones that matter. Locking in on what matters. And when you have these open loops, these tabs in your mind that haven't been closed, it leads to the CPU, just like a computer, the CPU of your mind getting screwed. Because now you don't have any energy to give things because you have 99 tabs open of all things you haven't taken 1 second to address. And what does that lead to? That leads to higher stimulation. And what does stimulation lead to? More stress and more boredom. So next time you feel stress and boredom, consider the ability to create genuine excitement and creating genuine excitement in your life with purpose, and consider what was the second thing? Consider addressing your stress. But I think if we literally just said, okay, my mission in life now is to address my stress and boredom before it turns into stimulation, and that was the only mission of our life, address stress and boredom, not to do work, not to be productive. If this was our only mission in life, we would be extremely productive. We'd probably never have to worry about money again. If this was all we focused on and used everything else in life as a means to achieve this goal. Because these are the things that are holding us back from what we want to achieve. And as we, and the really, worrisome part about this is as we move into, if you look at entrepreneurship, businesses, all these businesses are designed to make things more convenient. If you look at life, look at TikTok, look at Amazon.com, everything in life has been designed to make everything more convenient for us. But the disadvantage of making things more convenient, why is it not focusing? The disadvantage of making things more convenient is our tolerance goes up. So in the end of the day, society, by giving us what we want all the time, is slowly increasing our stress and increasing our boredom. This is why people are talking about how anxiety is increasing. More people are feeling anxiety in this generation. All these things, as we are continuing to be moved into a system and a culture of convenience, our stress and our boredom is increasing. And if we keep all these platforms like TikTok, all these things are designed to give us what we want because they know that it's easy for us to move towards what we want. It's not even like, I don't even think there's an inherent evil here, but I just think people will know that if I give you what you want, you're more likely to gravitate towards what you want in life than what you need. So in order for me to create a business, I'm going to give you what you want. And that's what TikTok is. TikTok is an algorithm perfectly catered to give you what you want. Instagram is an algorithm perfectly catered to give you what you want. Right? That is what we have. But as we move and entertain with what we want, we stimulate ourselves. And as we continue to make that the first habit we do, we overstimulate ourselves. And as we overstimulate ourselves, we get more of a desire to overstimulate ourselves because stimulation, and a lot of the stimulation we have, inherently leads to creating more stress and more boredom, which leads to more stimulation. So all of us in society are in this circular loop that we can never get out of unless we embrace things. And now, every single time we follow this circular loop, the amount of tasks in our mental task manager is increasing. And it's a never-ending cycle until you have traumas on traumas and anxiety on anxiety. And society will continue to encourage it because it will give you, it will lead you towards the path of least resistance, which is not the path that you should be chasing. So overcome stress and boredom, you overcome life.